Deep in the Rift Valley of East Africa, under a canopy of dust and time, archaeologists uncovered something haunting: a skeleton of a hominin male with a clean, fatal wound in his rib. It didn't look like an accident. It looked like intent, like violence. This wasn't just another fossil. This was evidence. And the question is, who or what drove that weapon in? Because if the theories are right, this might be the first recorded killing in our evolutionary story. And it didn't just end a life. It changed everything that came after. The story begins in the early 1960s, near the Olorgesailie Basin of southern Kenya. Archaeologists were digging through deep layers of ancient lakebed sediments. What they found wasn't just stone tools or animal bones. They found a partial skeleton, likely Homo heidelbergensis, preserved in silt. But what stood out wasn't the tools, it was the injury. A sharp puncture wound to the ribs, just below the heart. The surrounding bone showed signs of healing, meaning he didn't die right away. He lived and suffered, but not for long. What makes this find so chilling isn't just the violence, it's the implications. Because this could be the oldest evidence of premeditated violence in the human fossil record. And the weapon? That's where it gets even more interesting. In 1962, a team led by Glyn Isaac began excavating the Olorgesailie Basin. It was a remote and unforgiving place, dry, vast, filled with layers of volcanic ash and silt. But those layers held time itself. Over several seasons, the team unearthed Acheulean hand axes, butchered animal bones, and signs of long-term hominin activity. They found traces of hearths, signs of fire control, clusters of obsidian flakes transported from miles away, evidence of long-distance planning, and bones bearing cut marks arranged in patterns that suggested coordinated butchery, not scavenging. Then, in a layer dated to roughly 400,000 years ago, they found the bones. The rib cage was partially collapsed. One rib, the ninth on the left side, had a narrow V-shaped puncture. It was sharp, deliberate. There were no signs of carnivore damage, no tooth marks, no crushing from rockfall. This was no accident of nature. This was personal. The positioning of the skeleton suggested a rapid burial, as if others had buried him, or he died during a landslide and was quickly sealed beneath silt. Either way, he was preserved. And the wound? It remained as fresh in fossil as the day it happened. A hole through the rib that told a story of intent. What pierced him? Researchers examined the wound under microscopy. The edges were clean, with microfractures consistent with a stone-tipped weapon. High-resolution CT scans confirmed a steep downward trajectory, entering from above and slightly forward, which meant he was likely facing his attacker. The angle ruled out falling onto a sharp object. It was controlled, aimed. The force collapsed his lung, possibly severed major vessels, maybe even nicked his heart. He didn't die instantly, but he wouldn't have lasted long, and here's where it gets even darker. There was no sign of defensive wounds, no damage to the arms or hands, no evidence he fought back, which means he may have trusted the attacker. And the only tools found in that layer belonged to the same species as the victim. Acheulean hand axes, sharpened stone points, no carnivore bones nearby, no signs of a predator kill. This wasn't survival, it was something else. This was the oldest murder scene in history, and the killer may have walked away untouched. So who killed him? We don't know his name or the motive, but we do know this. This wasn't a predator, it was another hominin. Most likely, someone from his own group. Modern experiments with replica tools showed that only a hand-thrown spear or a thrusting lance could cause such a wound, both of which were in use by hominins of that era. The angle and depth matched wounds caused by close-range combat, not accidental trauma. And the absence of multiple injuries? That pointed to something chilling. A single, decisive strike. Not a fight, not a scuffle, an execution. The killer didn't panic, didn't strike wildly. They aimed and hit the lung. This wasn't just violence, it was precision. Some theorize it could have been a dominance display, a lethal outcome of a leadership challenge. Others think it may have been a territorial dispute or even a betrayal within a close-knit clan. Whatever the motive, it wasn't random. This was targeted, and it changes how we understand not just our ancestors, but ourselves. This changes things. We often imagine early humans as cooperative bands, fighting against nature. But this find suggests something darker. That organized violence, even murder, may be baked into our story. It predates Homo sapiens, Predates culture, predates war. This wasn't a battlefield. It was personal. And it means that even in our earliest days, power, fear, and death walked beside us. That moment in the dirt, a single act of lethal precision, may be the origin point of something we still wrestle with today. Because if we inherit fire, language, and memory from our ancestors, we also inherit wrath. And the fact that a 400,000-year-old murder still resonates tells us something profound, that the blade may be stone. But the motive? That was human. Today, forensic anthropologists use this case to teach students about trauma analysis. Because it's more than archaeology, it's our nature. And the oldest cold case on record. The victim never saw justice. The killer's name is lost, but the wound remains, cut into bone and into our past. And as new technologies emerge, from 3D printing to isotopic analysis, this ancient death continues to guide research. It's been cited in dozens of forensic textbooks, used in lectures to demonstrate how even subtle bone damage reveals hidden narratives. At Olorgesailie, new digs continue, not just to find more tools or bones, but to understand behavior, how early humans organized, why they clashed, what emotions they felt in those final moments. They're mapping social hierarchies based on artifact placement, studying burial positions to infer status or ritual, analyzing residues in dental calculus to understand diet and even health. Because this isn't just a murder scene, it's a time capsule. One that tells us violence didn't begin with empires or kingdoms. It began with us. Because the farther we look back, the more clearly we see ourselves. We walk through modern life thinking we've left the past behind. But the truth is, it walks with us. In our decisions, in our instincts, in our capacity for connection and destruction. That punctured rib isn't just an artifact, it's a mirror that reflects how far we've come and how much still lingers beneath the surface. Because behind every innovation is a shadow. And even 400,000 years ago, someone stood over another and chose to end a life. Not for food, not for defense, but for power, for fear, for something we may never fully understand, yet the bones remain. Telling a story no one else could. A story written in silence and fossilized in truth. Because history doesn't whisper, it carves. Thank you for watching. Be sure to check out the next video and subscribe.